Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my channel if you are new here. I am Martina Lily and today we are going to compare my last 3 years entire palette rankings, the top 5 palettes from 2021, 2022 and 2023. Let you guys know my thoughts on that ranking now, and then I'm going to rank the 15 palettes like within themselves. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does, and you want to stick around. If it does, go ahead and do the YouTubey things, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let's get started. Now, this wonderful idea did not come from me. It did come from one of you lovely subscribers and watchers out there. So I am going to put the wonderful person's name right here because off the top of my head, I can't remember and I'm too lazy to walk downstairs to check the screenshot. I'm so sorry. But thank you so much for this suggestion because this is awesome and it was actually fun to go down memory lane. I will link the 3 videos where I ranked, so the 2021, 2022 and 2023 like entire palette ranking for the year. I will link those 3 videos in the description box down below for you guys, and if these 15 palettes, whichever ones that are still available, I will have them linked in the description box for you guys as well. They are affiliate links if you shopped them. Thank you so much. And last bit of housekeeping, this look is coming if it's not already up. If it is up, I will link it down below. If not, it is coming. I used the new Lethal Cosmetics palette. I did a 3 looks 1 palette with it. So let's get into this. Now, 2021 was the first year on my channel. I had done a couple of videos, I think in 2019 or something, but 2020 was when I really started posting consistently on my channel. And I didn't do a palette ranking in 2020. I probably didn't even have enough palettes to rank, to be honest with you. In 2021 though, I did start doing my year palette ranking. One of the most interesting things to go back and revisit was each year my palette ranking has gone higher and higher, but I guess that kind of makes sense as your channel grows and you get more makeup and all that kind of stuff, right? So in the year of 2021, I ranked a total of 25 palettes. That means I tried a total of 25 palettes that year. And my top 5. So number 5 was the Viseart Cashmere palette. 2021 was also the year I got married and I wore this particular palette on my wedding day. If you are new around here, I eloped in Las Vegas and I have a Q&A and everything on my channel about that if you're wondering. And I wore a mix of this palette and my Tom Ford Rose Topaz palette on my wedding day. And I love and adore this palette still to this day. This palette usually comes with me every time I travel and I still cannot recommend this palette enough. And then in 2021, my number 4 was the Natasha Denona Glam Face Palette. And if you watched the video or you watched it, I remember saying I had completely destroyed this palette in a new makeup releases, because when I saw this in a new makeup releases, I was like, this is so boring, ridiculous, not buying. And then I saw it in person and these shades, this palette to see in person was completely and utterly mesmerizing, and the quality of this palette is exceptional. Absolutely exceptional. And for the ranking at that year and my collection, yes, I agree with it. I regret nothing. I think it's absolutely stunning. However, I wouldn't repurchase this palette if I had my time over, because she, like Natasha Denona, has since released the I Need a Nude palette, and I think that color story kind of covers me for these ones, and I don't particularly love this blush and I always forget to use the highlights, so yeah. Number 3 was the Charlotte Tilbury Smoky Eyes Are Forever palette. This one right here. This was actually my first ever Charlotte Tilbury palette that I tried, and unfortunately I don't actually think I have the arm swatch photos of these palettes to show you guys. If I do, I will include them, but I have lost a couple of memory drives since that year and I have a feeling I've probably lost some of these swatches, so if I have them I'll include them, I promise. If not, I'm sorry. I really like this palette still. I think at the time the ranking was correct. This was a really high quality palette for me, and I actually really like this palette still to this day because I like how she really has incorporated pretty much every kind of color story you could want in here, in the sense you've got some cool tones, some warmer tones, a bit of a purple, some softer shades, deepening shades. So, and the quality of this in my mind was really, really high quality. And honestly, I don't reach for this as much as I would. And the reason for that is honestly, I have a larger collection. My channel is very eyeshadow palette focused. You guys love that content, so I'm constantly bringing in new palettes. But if I had picked this up back then, say, and only kind of kept my collection really, really small, I would absolutely use this still to this day, consistently, because I would have imagined I would have hit pan on a heat because it's still a lovely palette. Number 2 was the Natasha Denona Midi Retro palette. Mine's so dirty and gross, I'm so sorry, but anyway. And I've got it upside down if you're wondering. yeah, I still stand by this ranking and I still stand by this palette. I would repurchase it. And this was another one that year I was like, I'm not buying it. I don't like that color story. I won't use it. And then I saw it in person. The quality of Natasha's shadows always wins me over, because every palette she releases, I feel like she just ups her quality in some way. And secondly, I always find with Natasha Denona's promo pics, the color stories in real life very different to what the promo pics are, and they're always usually better in real life than what the promo pics are. That is why when I got this, I felt absolutely head over heels in love with it. So yeah, I still agree with that one. And then number 1 was Celestial Odyssey. Now this was the year of Utopian Dream Mothership. I didn't super love, it's not that I didn't love the Utopian Dream Mothership in terms of quality. I actually thought the quality was really quite lovely of that. It's just the color story for me. It has its moments, but it's not like my all-time fave color story. So that's why I didn't rank as high in this ranking. But this, I still to this day love this palette. And I've actually seen, I think it's still available. Actually, she re-released it this Christmas in her like vault, and I'm pretty sure it's still available on her website. So I will link it down below if it is. And if you haven't got this and you've even half considered it, honestly, take the plunge. I personally find the quality of these shadows really high quality, and I just love the entire range of shades in here. Cohesively as one color story, it can look a bit intimidating, but when you break these down as like individual shadows, they're so gorgeous. These 3 right here in particular are my absolute faves, but honestly I have created so many looks with this palette and I still love it so much to this day. So yeah, if you can get your hands on this, I really still recommend it, truly. Now for my top 5 in 2022, this was definitely a little bit heavier in the Pat McGrath Labs rank palettes, if you will, in the top 5. So number 5 is Bronze Bliss. This was the first time that she released Holiday Quints for us, and this silver is one of the best eyeshadows I've tried out of my entire eyeshadow collection. I would love to see her bring out a lot more shades in this formula. There's something really unique and special about it. It's like this real cream-like molten liquid shadow. It's absolutely stunning. I also love, this isn't a straight black even though it looks like it is. It's more of like a charcoal on the eye, which I really like, and it blends out. Like I did a look with just this and used that as like my transition shade and everything, and it looked really nice. These bronzers are absolutely beautiful. This champagne shade, I actually wear this a lot to work. I love it. Still highly recommend if you find it available. Number 4 was Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. I don't think this is available anymore. She has re-released it a couple of times since she brought it out, because I got it on a re-release, not when it originally came out, but I don't believe you can get it anymore, unfortunately. And I would love to see her release another palette like this year, like this size. I think it's amazing. The quality of these shadows are absolutely phenomenal. I love that she's got a mix of mattes and cream to powder formulas and metallics, and you can pop all of these shades out to mix and match with your own like custom palettes and stuff, which I love doing. I regret nothing about picking this palette up. Absolutely love and adore it, and I hope she re-releases it again so that anyone that maybe is eyeing it off can grab it. Number 3 was Lisa Aldridge Vega, which is a palette. I don't know if this has been dropped yet on her website or not. If it has, I'll put a little thing right here and be like, run. And if you see this palette available, honestly, run, do not walk. It's insane. This was in my 2022 ranking, so this has been out of stock all of 2023. That is how quickly this palette sold out, and I know it's been super in demand because I know you guys ask me about it all the time, and I know I've seen on like Lisa's socials and stuff that people ask her all the time, and she's always like, it's getting restocked. She must have found it quite hard to get like resource the ingredients or something. Listen, the Lisa Aldridge palettes, they're expensive, and I know like for a lot of us it might be harder to get the shipping or whatever, although she is at Selfridges now and Liberty London. Honestly though, worth every single cent. I have every single one of her palettes. If she releases more, I will pick them up. She has one of the best eyeshadow formulas out there on the market, specifically if you are just an everyday makeup wearer and want a fuss-free eyeshadow palette that is incredibly easy to use but an incredibly impeccable formula. You will love her palettes, and I just love this one because of the color story. Like, I absolutely regret nothing with my Lisa palettes. I think they are some of the best quality palettes in my entire collection. Number 2 for this year was the first time that Izumaya actually dropped a product, and it was her Industrial 1 palette. And I remember at the time, I was really intrigued by this brand. I mean, like, this is pretty much a green eyeshadow palette, so we all know why I was drawn into it, okay? And I remember I held off on picking this up because it was 220 Australian dollars, maybe not quite, maybe 170 Australian dollars. I can't quite remember, sorry. And it was a new brand. So I'd asked you guys, like, do you guys want to see me review this? And it was pretty much like a flat out no, because it was still a new brand, and I think the packaging probably and the marketing, sorry, probably put people off. But I just kept getting drawn into this color story, and I was really intrigued about the formula, so I picked it up, and I'm so glad I did because this palette is insane. It is so good. I love the color story. It can get a little bit tricky to work with. Like, some of these shades can hard pen. They don't super love being used with fingers. Like, they are a formula that work better with a brush in my personal opinion, but still the color story of these, so unique. They are exceptional, and I absolutely regret nothing, and I still recommend this palette if you're eyeing it off. And then number 1 of 2022 was naturally Moonlit Seduction. Listen, I still rave about this mothership. To this day, this is actually my favorite mothership out of the entire collection. And yes, it doesn't have like the OG special shade formula, but I still really like this special shade formula. And I just love the color story of this one. Like, these 4 special shades and then this one, they're just my favorite. I absolutely love them. I think they're incredible. I think this whole palette together as a color story for me is just absolutely exceptional, and I love using it. And yeah, it's still one of my favorites. And let's hope she goes back to like something like this or her OGs for 2024's release, hey? And then lastly, my top 5 from 2023. So I'll skim through this one because this video was really, really fresh on the channel. So number 5 was the Glaminatrix Rich Romantic palette. Again, I mean, Glaminatrix was the brand of the year for me last year now. This quality is impeccable in every single way. These shadows are like multi-chrome, everyday friendly shadows. So if you find multi-chromes normally just too much for you on the everyday, this is like a wearable multi-chrome, if you will. They nailed the color story, they nailed the formula. Can't recommend it enough. Number 4 was my next Izumaya palette. So this was Izumaya Industrial 2.0. And she changed the game with this palette. The quality is like, it's triple, even better quality than what her first one is, which makes the first one kind of sound bad. It's not, it's just that this is insane. Like, the quality of these shadows is so good. It's basically a full palette of like Pat McGrath special shades, if you will. And I love the colors. Like, it looks like a really colorful palette, but if you break them down again into like just each individual shade and how you would create a look, which is that one shade, or like, and then add in others, or just that one shade, like, it is mesmerizingly beautiful. And I've done like a 5 looks 1 palette and everything with this. So good. Number 3 was Natasha Denona Yucca. I mean, again, look at this color story. God, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love this palette intensely. Number 2 was Natasha Denona I Need a Nude. I mean, I feel like for me, it's pretty self-explanatory. Such a perfect neutral palette for me. It is my kind of a color story that I would reach for. If, like, I was absolutely forced to give up my entire eyeshadow palette collection, honestly, this is probably the one that I would keep, because these would be the colors that I would wear most consistently. I would be absolutely devastated and I'd give my palettes up kicking and screaming because I love my eyeshadow palettes. But if I was being like, if it got to a point of being practical and it was like, you just can't keep more, you can only have one, like, I will admit that's probably the one that I would keep. And then number 1 was my Danessa Myricks Groundwork Defining Neutrals palette. I mean, look how battered this thing is. And again, I absolutely love and adore this. I said it in my ranking. The reason why this is number 1, even though it's just a plain matte palette, is that I use this palette every single time I do my makeup in one way, shape or form, because this formula can be used on the face, on the eyes, brows, lips, whatever. I always reach for this in some way, shape or form when doing my makeup ever since I've gotten it. And because of that, it is hands down my most used eyeshadow palette in my entire collection. And for that reason alone, like, I've got to put it at number 1 because it is, I've got my money's worth. So what I'm going to do now is quickly rank these 15, which is torture for me. I don't know why I put myself through this, and then I'll come back and show you guys like what my ranking of these 15 would be. Apart from the bottom one, this was really hard. I really like all of these palettes. I really like them all. So just a caveat here, I am just picking this based off of like color story preference, I guess, as of today, and like my thoughts and feelings, but I love every single one of these, okay? So it's just really just a bit of fun, okay? Don't take it too seriously. So number 15 is easily the Natasha Denona face palette, purely for the reason of what I've said. Like, I've already got this color story a couple of times really, or these shades in other palettes from Natasha Denona within this collection, and I just kind of find these face palettes, like, I just think she would have actually been better off releasing this exact little 5 shadow in like a mini palette with this exact same quality. It would have been better. I probably would rank it higher if I actually liked the blush formula, because then I could actually use the whole thing, but this formula sucks. So yeah, number 15. 14 is the Charlotte Tilbury Smoky Eyes Are Forever palette, because while I do love this, while the quality is exceptional, again, all of these palettes are high quality and exceptional, it's just a little bit boring as well in the same sense, and the formula is probably not as phenomenal as the others. 13 is the Natasha Denona Mini Retro, just because this is kind of a color story that I'm not reaching for as much at the moment, and it is very much like a same kind of color story, and I think the color stories that are ahead of this one are just more what I'm leaning for. But in saying that, I still love it. It still has its moment, and like, I would repurchase it. Number 12 is the Viseart Cashmere palette. I mean, honestly, this is just, I don't even feel like it's fair including this in any rankings really, because it's always going to hold such a special place in my heart, given that I used it for my wedding day. I just love the color story of this. It's absolutely stunning. And you would think it would rank higher, I guess, because I used it on my wedding day, but it's also, it's such a good quality, reliable formula, perfect for the everyday, but then some like, and I love it, but also the other palettes in front of it probably inspire me a little bit more. Number 11 is the Pat McGrath Labs Bronze Bliss palette. Purely, honestly, this silver shade, like I said, is a formula that is second to none. It is absolutely incredible, and it deserves all of the accolades, just this one shade alone. Number 10 is the Celestial Odyssey palette. I mean, I absolutely love this. I still recommend it, especially if you're eyeing it off and you can still grab it, honestly. Like, the shades in here are amazing. I personally think the quality is exceptional, and it's just, again, I like some of the other color stories a little bit more. 9 is Izumaya Industrial, just because while this formula is amazing, the rest of the formulas ahead of this are truly a little bit more exceptional than this, but this gets ranked a little bit higher than other palettes as well, just because of the color story is so amazing. And don't get me wrong, it's still an incredible palette. It's just that her second one, the formula was like mind-blowing. Number 8, Glaminatrix Cosmetics Rich Romantic palette. Absolutely love this. Quality is amazing, and this would rank a lot higher. It's just, I don't super love these 3 shades right here, and I reckon if these were more of like a neutral brownie colors, I would probably rank this a hell of a lot higher. But I mean, it's a cohesive color story and they have their moments, but it's just a personal preference thing. But the quality is so good. Don't sleep on Glaminatrix, you guys. Number 7 is Lisa Eldridge Vega. I've said enough. It's incredible. It's very much a me color story. Again, a really good palette to travel with, and I really love it. I just love the color stories of the ones ahead a little bit more. It really just comes down to color stories at this point, honestly, because all of the formulas are so good. Number 6 is the Izumaya Industrial 2.0. Like I said, a palette full of Pat McGrath Labs special shades. You just cannot go wrong. Probably just a little bit too colorful for me sometimes, not all the time, just sometimes. So the color stories ahead of this one kind of win out over it, but it's fire, and I can't wait to see what Izumaya brings out this year. Number 5, it's got to be the Yucca palette from Natasha Denona. I'm just a sucker for greens, and especially like these like dirty olive greens. I just absolutely love it. I love every single shade in here, and she just upped the formula with this palette. Can't go wrong. Number 4 is the Metropolis palette, and I just really think this is a great palette because it has cool tones, it has warm tones, it has cream to powder mattes, normal mattes, metallics, like more creamy molten metallics. I love it. Like, you could really have this one palette and it's got you covered for pretty much every occasion. And yeah, the formula is exceptional. I don't know, I really like this, and it's actually quite unique to my collection. Number 3, Natasha Denona I Need a Nude. Again, It's like my perfect palette, like my perfect practical everyday kind of palette. Got you covered for every single occasion. Love it. And I'll be honest, if I was getting married this year, I probably would take this palette with me. It would be the one that I use. Number 2 is the Denona Groundwork palette. I mean, self-explanatory. Like I said, I've used this every single day that I've done my makeup since I got it in some way, shape or form. I think it's exceptional quality. I love these pomade mattes. They make me angry. They're so good. And yeah, I'd love to see Denona bring out more palettes with like this formula. So good. And number 1 is obviously my absolutely beloved Moonlit Seduction. Listen, you guys, this is one of my favorite palettes, if not obviously my favorite palette. I ranked it number 1. I just really, really, truly love this. I love these shades in here. My only complaint, I say it all the time, I wish these two were more like the taupe out of Subliminal and stuff. Then it would just be like my dream palette. But listen, clearly I have a big enough eyeshadow collection that I can just like pick and choose between it. But such good quality. All of the metallics in here, they're just really special and unique, and I just love them. And yeah, this is my favorite palette. I really, really like this one, and I just hope that this year's Mothership is not pink or gold. Please, Pat, please don't do it to us. All right, that is how I would rank my top 15 palettes from the past 3 years. What do you guys think? Did it rank how you thought it would rank? And hopefully this was a little bit of fun. Let me know your thoughts down below. Which out of these 15 palettes, which would have been your number 1? I would love to know. If you're watching till this point, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so, so much. I truly appreciate you, and I hope you have the most amazing day wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next time. Bye.